Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Carving It Up Live right here on YouTube as well as on X. I am Bryson Carver, as always. It is great to be with you on this Monday. First of all, most importantly, he is risen. Happy Easter. Hope everybody had a great weekend on that front. And we had some incredible playoff basketball from start to finish. I'm not going to lie, Bucks Pacers was not exactly the appetizer I was hoping for as it pertains to how we led into the NBA playoffs. But from there, Clippers Nuggets, we'll get into that later. Why I picked the Clippers, I'm sticking with my pick. And you certainly don't want to overreact to game one. That tends to be the theme of shows like mine the day after the opening weekend of the playoffs. That said, there's some things I saw that I'm like, that's not ideal. Still picking them, still think they're the better team. But some things that Denver is more than capable, I think, did kind of expose in LA in game one. Get to Lakers, who just got clobbered in game one against the Timberwolves. I'm actually not all that worried about LA as long as they win tomorrow night, which they play game two in Los Angeles tomorrow at the Crypt. Get to that. Also, gonna leave with my Warriors, of course, in just a second. Get to the Knicks quickly. The 21-0 run that they went on against the Pistons, where they end up going from down 8 to up 13. It's crazy swing in the game, ends up winning game one. At the end of my show, my final mock draft, 3.0, last mock draft. The first round starts on Thursday. We'll have all kinds of coverage here on the Grid Network. I'll be hosting. EJ Savage, Mike Guida, who've been covering the draft throughout the last month or so, will be joining as well some other incredible Grid content creators. So definitely stay tuned for that. But first, they look good. Particularly on the defensive end, did the Golden State Warriors, who won a game that Steve Kerr said looked like it was straight out of 1997. 95-85 was your score. Yes, we're in 2025, and that was a score of an NBA first-round playoff basketball game. So there's a lot of things, there's a lot of reasons why folks picked the Houston Rockets to win the series. Now, Golden State was only the second 7 seed in the last 30 years to be a favorite over a 2 seed in a first-round series, according to Vegas. But I feel like the majority of the media was like, yeah, we like Golden State. They've gone on a good second-half run, post-All-Star break, post-Jimmy trade, all of it. But Houston's young. Houston's athletic. Houston's got a great coach. Like, all these different things. So, it's the first thing I sort of wanted to address that I saw in this game is what's going to hurt Golden State over the course of the series is offensive rebounds. Houston absolutely annihilated Golden State on the glass. Steven Adams was I think the only Rocket with a positive plus-minus. He destroyed Golden State on that front. Jabari Smith kept shots alive. Şengün did. That's something that Golden State is going to have to address before it's all said and done. That's a real concern for them and something they'll have to overcome. But when it came to the entire defense front, let's start team defense. And then we'll work into the Steph Curry aspect of it. Because you see the title of the show, Golden State or Warriors hit the Curry stoppers in the mouth. The Rockets have been one of the top defenses in basketball over the course of the season. Top 5, I believe, in terms of defensive rating. Golden State Warriors, since the Jimmy Butler trade, since February 8th, when Jimmy made his debut against his old team, the Chicago Bulls, number 1 in defensive rating. And that has been kind of the mantra of all previous Golden State champions, is all of them, I believe, 2018 might have been the exception, but all of them have been top 10 in defensive rating. If you play for Steve Kerr, you better be able to defend. And so if this series looks like it did last night, where it's just a rock fight, it's offensive rebounds, it's missed shots, it's contested shots, it's running the shot clock down, all of it. If the defense cancels each other out, then this will be a quick series, because Golden State obviously has the 2 closers to be able to get the job done in the end, which they did. And I did want to discuss Steph, because I feel like it has been over the course of the last decade. So Steph won his MVP exactly 10 years ago. Ironically, that was also his first series against the Houston Rockets, when Golden State gentlemen swept Houston in the conference finals. And I feel like the whole Curry stopper, like, you ever see, you know what the Curry stopper narrative is? It's like that clickbait magazine article you see online. You're scrolling, you're looking at some legitimate news piece from some legitimate outlet, whatever, and you scroll down, you're like, pilot sees mysterious spaceship with a foreign, with potential aliens on it. It's like, and then you click it, and there's not much substance at all. It's just kind of hearsay, and I heard somebody say that. That's what the Curry stopper narrative is. Remember back in the day, 10 years ago, Matthew Dellavedova, which, God bless Della, he did all he could. He ended up having to go to the hospital in that series because of guarding Steph Curry will do that to a man. But Matthew Dellavedova, oh, he's the Curry stopper. And then a few years ago is Marcus Smart. He's the Curry stopper. He's Defensive Player of the Year. Same coach, by the way, Ime Udoka, who coached the Celtics, who coached these Rockets. And a couple of years ago, I remember it was the young rookie out of Baylor, Davion Mitchell. I'm telling you, he's the Curry stopper. Watch out for him. Dylan Brooks years ago, that was the Curry stopper. Now it's Amen Thompson, who, listen, that kid's future it couldn't be brighter. His athleticism is freakish. His aggressiveness, I love it. He seems to be a coachable kid. That guy is going to be a multi-time All-Star and then some in the future. Amen Thompson is going to be a special player. But year 8, I don't care. But year 2, asking this young kid, hey, guard one of the greatest basketball players ever at the peak of his powers. Because there was a lot of narrative. Well, listen, Amen Thompson, last time the Warriors and Rockets played, held Steph Curry to 3 points, 1 of 10 shooting, April 6th. I remember that game. I remember watching it. That was the Rockets kind of put the Warriors in a spot where they lost 3 out of their last 5 games to end the regular season. It's like, man, Amen Thompson, the Curry stopper. Ime Udoka, maybe he has the plan. Ime Udoka, after that game a couple weeks ago, said, hey, listen, when you get guys frustrating and complaining to refs, that's when you know you've gotten their heads. And as you can see, as we'll show you the numbers here, as a real, they really just shut Steph down. They really shut Jimmy down too, because if you look at their numbers, Steph had 31, Jimmy had 25. Steph had 6 rebounds, Jimmy had 7. Steph had 3 assists, Jimmy had 6. Steph had 1 steal, Jimmy had 5. Okay, they both took 19 shots. Steph made 12, Jimmy made 10. Jimmy doesn't shoot the 3 much, but he made 1 of them, and Steph was 5 for 9, including some just circus shots. And what was one of the things that I talked about coming to the series? My man Arthur Hurst is a witness to it, because he was on the show on Friday for a playoff preview. And shout out to Arthur, he did a great job on the show. One of the things I brought up is, it's the 5th time that Steph and Draymond and Kerr have seen the Houston Rockets in a playoff series. And folks are saying, well, those Houston Rockets, they weren't on those teams. There's no one on this Houston team that was on those teams in between 2015 and 19. That was more like the James Harden / Chris Paul, run. Mike D'Antoni, the cast of characters that are on this Rockets team now was not on that Rockets team. I said, yeah, that's correct. The coach is different, all of it. You know who was there in Houston for that? The fans. The fans have watched the Warriors walk into Houston and blow them out in a Game 3 of the conference finals in 2015, and win a Game 4 when Steph Curry injures his knee in the first round in 2016, and win a Game 7 when their team misses 29 straight 3-pointers, and then win a Game 6 the year after in 2019 when Steph goes 0 for in the first half, 33 in the second half. They've seen those things. And did you notice anytime Steph would hit one of those circus shots, the one he hit in the first half was just, Charles Barkley, God bless him. Everybody loves Chuck, but he called it luck. I'm like, Chuck, there's one human being in the history of the world that can make that shot, and we're not surprised. It's that simple. But every time Steph hit one of those daggers, couldn't you just, at least I had the sound on. Now I'm listening to the game, Kevin Harlan, TNT, and couldn't you just hear the crowd? Steph hits a shot. Just the groan, like, oh boy, we've seen this. Oh, here he goes again. Mama, there go that man. Here we go. We're going to have to deal with this guy again. We can't avoid it. That's a problem for the Houston Rockets moving forward. Also a problem for the Houston Rockets, because I mentioned if the defense cancels each other out, because Golden State's got an elite defense, so does Houston. If that cancels each other out, and this is a low-scoring series where first to 100 wins, then that favors Golden State overwhelmingly, because you're talking about a young team that's generally, you're talking about Şengün, Jalen Green. These guys have never been to the playoffs against a veteran team. Jimmy Butler's nickname is literally Playoff Jimmy. Steph Curry and Draymond Green have won 4 championships, and you see what happened. Once Fred VanVleet finally hit a 3 to cut the lead to 4, this is what happened in the last 2.5 minutes. 11-4 run for the Warriors. They got an offensive rebound. Houston got 0 in the stretch after they crushed the Warriors on the glass. Warriors missed 1 shot. Houston missed 3 rather, and the Warriors committed no turnovers. Houston committed 1. And this, to me, is what makes Golden State so darn scary moving forward. It's why all the way back in early March, after the Super Bowl, I usually take a little bit of a breather, took a 3-week break, came, but obviously I got my finger to the pulse of the sports world. I'm obviously watching my Warriors. And I had said before the year that that Denver was my pick to win the title. And my caveat is, if the Warriors actually got Steph a legitimate all-star co-star, changing my pick to Golden State. And after watching that 3-week stretch of Jimmy and the Warriors, I'm like, oh shoot, this looks like some of those championship teams. Warriors are my pick. And listen, I've been ridiculed for it, but I will gladly accept it because I'm going to be right in the end. Part of the reason why is because we know Steph's the closer. We know Steph is the man. Steph is a clutch player of the year last year. There's no one you'd less rather have in the ball in their hands face the Golden State Warriors by a long shot than Steph Curry. That 11-4 run to close the game when Houston cut it to 4, and it's like, oh man, this could be something. Maybe the Rockets come back from 23 down. You want to know how many points Steph Curry scored in that 11-4 stretch? Goose egg. Took one shot, missed it. That's what Jimmy Butler's there for. That's what the role players who are going to get open looks because of the gravity of Steph and, to a degree, the gravity of Jimmy. Guys like Brandon Pajimski, Moses Moody, who had a big 3 to start that 11-4 run. But Jimmy Butler's the catalyst for all of this. He's a smart basketball player. He can get his own shot. He can distribute to others. And then, by the way, you have the brains of Draymond Green, which what kind of asset is that over the course of a 7-game playoff series? Pretty good ones you've seen throughout the last decade. So I think it's a great win for the Warriors. I think this game, not the 95-85 aspect of it. I think that caught a lot of us off guard. But listen, I said coming into the series, Golden State's going to jump out on top to start. Nab game 1, nab home court advantage. Houston's going to respond in game 2. For the record, listen, I'm not going to sit up here and act like the series is over, even though between you and me, I kind of think it is. But Houston's going to win game 2, I think, probably by 10, 12 points. They're the desperate team. They're the 2 seed. I'm not going to shortcut them. I think they'll win game 2. Warriors will take 3 and 4. Houston probably takes 5. Golden State closes them out in 6. That was my prediction coming into the series, and that's how I feel today. Now, if I'll say this, and this is an interesting note going into game 2, is that because when people are panicking about, the rest for Golden State, they're not going to be rested for the playoffs. They play the play-in game against Memphis, 4 days off before Houston. Game 1, 2 days off. Game 2, 2 days off. Then you get to game 3, and then it's every other day from that the rest of the series. But the Warriors are going to get their rest in the early stages of the series. So I didn't think that was a question. But with the rest component and with the component of we won game 1, we're good. We've nabbed home court, we're good. Whereas Houston, it is if they know if they go down 0-2 to the Golden State Warriors with the series shifting back to San Francisco, forget about it. Series is over. It's a wrap. And on the Warriors side, it's an element of we're good. We've got home court. We're rested. This is probably the first game. Listen, it's a playoff game, so it has consequence, obviously. But this is the first game for the Warriors in probably a month where there's not like the playoff implications. We need to get this game. As opposed to if you lose game 2, okay, as long as we come out healthy, okay, we're good. We're good. We got the split. Let's go home. Let's get the next 2. Let's go up 3-1 and have a stranglehold on the series. So, listen, but I'll tell you, I got so bothered. Not just at the Curry stopper thing. The whole, listen, there's certain guys, if you rough Steph up, he'll really struggle. Yeah, he struggled on his way to 31. But not just roughing Steph up on offense, but going after him on defense. Did you see the stat today? Because I read this. I saw this on Twitter. And, listen, it's not everything you can see on there is necessarily true, but found it notable that Rockets players shot 4 for 16 from the field when guarded by Steph Curry in game 1. This is the lowest mark for any defender so far in the playoffs. This is what I've always said about Steph. Nobody's going to mistake the man for Tony Allen, to say the very least. But when people have acted like he's a darn cone on defense, like he's Luka or something, I've taken exception to that. Steph can defend, not that well, but he can. It's not an automatic bucket when you go after him. And certainly in this game, Houston couldn't score. And you saw Houston taking early shots on the shot clock, and the Warriors were going to play with pace. We're going to slow the game down. That's how Jimmy likes to play. Steph can get good looks. So, and by the way, the role players, Moody hits a big 3. Pajemski doing what he does with the winning plays there at the end. The tip to Draymond Green late was huge. Like just a team that's been there, that's done that knows how to win these games. And listen, Ime Udoka's a great coach, but that was a kind of put his foot in his mouth a couple weeks ago when he was talking about, when you get in their heads after a while, you're not getting in Steph Curry's head. If you are, it's in a bad way that's going to hurt you in the end. And that's what happened last night with the Golden State Warriors. So listen, I know everybody loved the Rockets. I understand it. I didn't appreciate, though, everybody agrees, obviously, Steph's the best player in the series. I didn't appreciate the whole, okay, Steph's the best player, and then Şengün's the second best player. I'm like, well, Şengün's the second best player in the regular season between these two teams. Jimmy Butler's the second best player in the series. So, listen, I hear about Şengün. Listen, you can have Şengün, Work Zoom, Cartoon, Warriors in 6. It don't matter. So, there you go. Shifting now to the Lakers. So, by the way, again, the show is not, I should have mentioned, the show is not live. So, if there's anything in the world of sports that has happened prior to recording the show, I'm aware of it, just not the time that you're watching me. Let's talk about the Lakers because they got blasted by the Minnesota Timberwolves on Saturday night. I believe the score was 117 to 95. Lakers kind of jumped out early. Luka got in a run, but from there, it was from second quarter on, it was all T-Wolves. Dante DiVincenzo had a 3 in the first half. Like, it was all momentum from there. And that was with Anthony Edwards not necessarily giving you that much. He got hurt in the game, and Minnesota was able to come out and play big. Naz Reid was great. Julius Randle looked, again, playoff Randle. That's a concern in this series for Minnesota. I don't think this is an area of concern for the Lakers, and there's a couple of reasons for this. Number one, J.J. Redick's first game as an NBA head coach in the playoffs. So J.J. Redick's played in the playoffs quite recently, I might add. I think he played as recent as like 2019 in the playoffs. So it's not been that long ago for him. But coach of the playoffs, different animal. And Chris Finch, I used to be pretty hard on Chris Finch. I think I had reason to. He's gotten better over the last few years as a coach. Chris Finch has been there before. Minnesota Timberwolves have been in the playoffs the last 3 years, so that this is not new for them. And so, at least in game one, there's that advantage. There's the element of, okay, LeBron, Luka, I still think they're trying to figure it out a little bit. Keep in mind, this trade happened 2.5 months ago, not last offseason. And so, but to me, the main catalyst, the main reason that I'm not concerned about the Lakers, at least right now in this series, is we've known it's the biggest cliche in the NBA playoffs, but it's true. And I liken it to, remember during the Patriots dynasty when, I mean, they won 6 out of 9 Super Bowls. Brady won six championships and 9 Super Bowl appearances in New England before the one in Tampa. But it was so funny. You'd watch them every game, every Super Bowl, and it's like, why do they never score in the first quarter? Matter of fact, I think Brady threw an early touchdown to Gronk in the Tampa Super Bowl, and I think they said it was like the first touchdown or touchdown thrown or touchdown scored, whatever, that Brady had scored in a Super Bowl in the first quarter ever. I'm like, man, it's been there 10 times. This is the first time he did it? Because Tom and Bill, veterans, been there, done that. We're going to feel out the first quarter. See, the Atlanta Falcons never been there before. Rams never been there before. Seattle had been, so a little bit of a different story there. But, some of these teams have never been there before. Carolina Panthers back in the day. We're going to feel the game out, see what's up, see what they want to do, get a feel for what's going on, make in-game adjustments, make halftime adjustments, and then go be the clutchest team in probably NFL history in the second half. LeBron James in game 1 of the playoffs. Particularly, too, I went back and looked. We talk about the LeBron feel-out game, and we hear about that, but it's a real thing. I went back and looked at LeBron game 1s over the course of his career, and he averaged like 27 a game. It's like, man, if you average 27 in feel-out games, like that's ridiculous. So I decided, okay, let's look more recently because some of those games are like apex, prime LeBron James that could beat any basketball player ever. Let's look at LeBron James as a Laker in the first round of the playoffs, or at least, in game 1 of the playoffs in his Laker career. Still pretty good. I mean, 21, 9, and 8's good numbers. 48% of the field is pretty solid. 29 from 3's got to get better, but LeBron's improved his 3-point shot. He's 4-6. He's 4-6 in the playoffs. This is now his 3rd straight game 1 loss, 2 to Denver and now to Minnesota. So this is not foreign for LeBron and the Lakers. And so that I'm not concerned with. What needs to improve, 2 things that need to improve drastically for the Lakers if they want to respond in game 2, get back in the series, and put themselves in a position to win. Number 1, Austin Reeves has to show up. And the thing that was the only concern I had about the Lakers coming into the series, the only major one, and the one I have for them in the playoffs, is I said the Lakers and Timberwolves are the reverse of each other. The Timberwolves' best defensive players, best offensive players are... the Lakers' best defensive players are kind of a liability offensively. Outside of Dorian Finney-Smith. Dorian Finney-Smith can hit the perimeter 3-point shot, dish from Luka. He can hit those shots. He got a chemistry with Luka, obviously, from Dallas back in the day. But Jared Vanderbilt is a 0 on offense, okay? Jackson Hayes, no. some of these guys cannot they can defend. They cannot get good looks for themselves offensively without serious work from LeBron or Luka. Austin Reeves has got to step up because best defender is going to take Luka Doncic. That's probably going to be Jaden McDaniels, who had a good game in game one. Second best defender is going to take LeBron. Austin Reeves has to win his matchups in these playoffs. This is the first time I talked about this. We did a Twitter Spaces at the Grid, and we're going to be doing more of those moving forward. So definitely follow the Grid on X. We did a Spaces during some of the games on Saturday. I think this was we were talking about this during the Knicks and Pistons game, and we got to talk about the Lakers. And I said, this is the first time in Austin Reeves' career where, at least post rookie season, where he is the number 3 on ball option. Not the first time he's been the third best player on the team. He's been the third best player on the team for the last few years. But Anthony Davis was an on the ball scoring threat. You had to throw the ball at AD in the post or high post, free throw line, let him do his thing. LeBron obviously can create his own shot with ease. So can Luka now. So Austin Reeves, that's going to be kind of his role. And this has been the best season of Reeves' career. So I expect him to respond. And the Lakers' intensity has got to ratchet up. Again, I think this was a little bit of Minnesota. Nobody believes in us. Everybody's picking the Lakers. Okay, we'll show you, combined with the LeBron feel-out game, and that's a recipe for disaster in a one-game setting for the Los Angeles Lakers. So kudos to Minnesota. And Edwards, I swear, this, there's a reason folks talk about this guy being the potential face of the league soon. And listen, post Bron and Steph, because we know those are the two guys right now. There's a number of candidates. Wemby could be it. Heck, Luka could be it. And Edwards is just not just the charisma, but what he does, especially for such a young player. I know this is year 5, but I think he was a teenager when he got drafted out of Georgia by the T-Wolves in 20. So he's still a young man. Even if he's not scoring, and he had the best scoring year of his career, averaged 27 a game, I would have voted him first team All-NBA. But even if you take away his scoring, and he missed some time due to injury in this game, you feel when he's on the floor. He gets teammates involved. Like Jason Timpf, who's a great podcaster, great job breaking down basketball. I highly recommend you check out his podcast. I heard him talking about the other day that Anthony Edwards was the most blitzed player in the NBA this season. And Jason Timpf's, theory for this is defenses don't think he can beat guys with his passing ability. And that's been a concern of the course of his career, but I feel like he distributed the ball well. He obviously can rebound. He plays his arse off on the defensive end. We can score with ease. So listen, that's a dude you want to be certainly the face of your franchise. If you're the T-Wolves, you've got your guy. You tried Wiggins, Cat, good players to varying degrees, but not a dude who can say, okay, this is my squad. Y'all gonna follow my lead, and we're gonna get the job done in a game 1 in Los Angeles when nobody thinks we can win. So listen, Anthony Edwards is one of the funnest watches in the league. And listen, I'm curious what Minnesota's, because if you remember a year ago, they took that game 1 in Denver in the second round. That was when everybody thought the Nuggets were going to beat the T-Wolves in the second round. And then they walk in there in game 2 and beat them again. It's like, oh my gosh, the defending champions. Denver reels off 3 straight, and then Timberwolves come back and win that series in 7. I expect the Lakers to come out with their hair on fire in game 2. First of all, that's the type of coach JJ Redick is. I'm going to be curious to see Luka's effort on the defensive end. That'll be fascinating. I expect the Timberwolves to get Luka into a lot of pick and rolls. That is the bread and butter on how to beat the Los Angeles Lakers. They don't have size, and Luka is a negative on the defensive end. And so, listen, I had Lakers in 5 with the vast majority of the games being close. This feels like a 6-gamer now at this point. So I still think the Lakers are going to win. I think they'll win game 2. If they lose game 2, they're in trouble. They're in big trouble. Not that I don't think LeBron and Luka can't come back from 2-0, but that's I don't see as much as I love JJ Redick. We are talking about a rookie coach. You go down 2-0, losing your first 2 home games with the momentum and the energy and how they feed off of Van Edwards and that home crowd in Minnesota. That's not ideal for the Lakers. So they need to come out big time energy. I think they will. I think they'll win game 2. And then we got ourselves a fun series. 1-1 going back to Minnesota. This could end up being one of the more intriguing first round matchups. There's no question about that. And I'll say this as a Warriors fan. Nothing would make me happier because I do believe we'll get Warriors and Lakers in round 2. Nothing would make me happier is if nothing else, Minnesota takes a pound of flesh off the Lakers, the way I think the Pistons are going to take a pound of flesh off the Knicks. We'll get to them later in this show, but that's kind of my hope as a Warriors fan. Like, hey, just let's have that series go as long as possible. So game 2 is a must win for the Lakers. They can't. I don't think they can win this series if they don't take game 2. I think they will take game 2 comfortably. LeBron, he's done his feel-out game. Luka's going to step up. He's owned the Timberwolves, particularly Rudy Gobert, over the course of his basketball career. So I like the Lakers in game 2. All right, be back in just a minute on Carving Up Live. But when we come back, probably the best game of the weekend was Clippers and Nuggets, game 1 in Denver. Went to overtime. Westbrook, Harden, back and forth. Terrible mistakes, big shots. Get to that in just 1 minute on Carving Up Live. You're not going to miss this, baby. We're just getting started. Welcome back to Carving Up Live. So before we get to Nuggets and Clippers, I saw this earlier because there's been, since the Mavs got just, how bad are the Dallas Mavericks? And I know we've crushed Dallas for a while, and rightfully so, but they got absolutely embarrassed by Memphis, and then Memphis gets freaking dog walked by Oklahoma City yesterday in game 1. But no, this is according to Tim Cato, that that Dallas Mavericks owner Patrick Dumont was reportedly frustrated with Nico Harrison for not warning him how the fan base would react to a Luka Doncic trade. What? It just gets worse by the day for Mavs fans. The owner wasn't aware of this. Like, and he's mad. Listen, you can be mad at the GM for a lot of reasons. One of the reasons not to get mad at Nico Harrison, if you're the owner at least, is to, man, I didn't think the fans would be ticked off with us trading our franchise player, just took us to the finals last year, and has more first-team All-NBAs than Steph Curry, and he's in his mid-20s. Yeah, I didn't think the fans would be mad at that at all. It's just, somehow, some way, the Dallas Cowboys are not the most embarrassing franchise in their own city anymore. It is like this. This makes Dallas look like a decently run operation now. You were shocked that the fans were ticked at the Luka trade? And you, listen, get mad at the GM for making the trade. Although you're the owner, I'm sure you could nix it if you wanted to. But don't get mad at him for something that you had to give the okay for. And yeah, then it tells me it's just more evidence they had no finger on the pulse of what Mavs fans actually want, which is, hey, one of the 5 best players on planet Earth. We'd like to keep him. He wants to stay here. Maybe he should stay here. Just a crazy idea. But clearly Nico Harrison had other ideas. So that's where we're at with that. So shifting now, though, to what was the best game 1, I think, of the first round. I'm normally able to get the week off. I've obviously been in Orlando for the Disney College program. Normally get the weekends off. I like to go to the parks. And I'm just sitting, I'm sitting eating dinner in Epcot, just like riveted by this game 1 finish between the Clippers and the Nuggets. Game 2 tonight, I'll try and upload my reaction to this before that game airs tonight. I think that's at 10 p.m. Eastern in Denver. But Nuggets win 112-110 in overtime. And it was so funny. The finish of this game was just wild, hilarious, wild, whatever you want to describe it as. So you're talking about in the final minutes, okay, the Nuggets got a 1-point lead. Sorry, Clippers have a 1-point lead. Yeah, Clippers have a 1-point lead. And Russell Westbrook, of all people, with 20 odd seconds left, hits the go-ahead three to put the Nuggets up one. I know people are like, oh, Russell's shooting better from three this year. That's still not a theme of Russell Westbrook's career. Is not just big shots, but again, part of the reason Russell is shooting slightly better from three this year than he has in the past is because the volume isn't quite what it used to be when he was in Oklahoma City. And so, but kudos to Russ. He makes the shot like, oh my gosh, this Russell just saved the day. He's the hero for the Nuggets. And then you turn around, and then James Harden makes a floating shot to tie the game. It's like, man, what is this, 2017? Those are the two leading vote getters for MVP that year. Westbrook won it. Harden came in second. I would have had it in reverse. Neither here nor there. But these two going at it like, Jokic who? Kawhi who? Like, look at these guys. And then Nuggets have the last possession, opportunity to win it. Russell's got the ball in his hands. And again, it kind of gets jumbled. I think the Nuggets took a little too long to develop their last play, but Russell's got the ball right wing. He's getting trapped, and Jokic is open. And we know Jokic can knock down the threes. I think he's a 40% shooter from out there. Get the ball to Jokic. Get the ball, the best player in the world, and he's unable to do that. And the Nuggets don't even get a shot off. We go to overtime. Which goes back and forth as this game did in the fourth quarter. Clippers had control throughout most of this game, and then Denver kind of rallied in the fourth at home. But you're in a spot now. Make sure I get this right. Yeah, so James Harden hits a three. Clippers are down 4. Harden hits a three with about 27 seconds left to make it a 1-point game. And then on the other end, keep in mind, he hits with 27 seconds left, 24-second shot clock. Denver can run this down not as far as they want, but the Clippers do not have to foul on the spot. Like, Denver can get a good look, but they need to run the clock down a bit. And middle of the shot clock, classic Westbrook playing 1,000 miles an hour with seemingly no knowledge of game or time, does exactly what he did, not in transition, but similar to what he did in that T-Wolves game a couple weeks ago that I think kind of helped get Michael Malone get fired. Drives to the rim, lays it up, and it's like, what are you doing, dude? And then... but you're able to get some free throws late by Aaron Gordon, who hits both. And then James Harden, Russell Westbrook ends up saving the day for good at the end by knocking the ball off of James Harden. So something that, and I talked about coming into this series, that if Jokic were a very good, even all-star level center, I might pick the Clippers in 5 games. It's because Jokic is so much better than everybody in the series, and I think clearly the best player in the world right now, that I do give Denver a shot. And you respect playoff Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon and MPJ, who have been there in the playoffs, who won a championship 2 years ago. You respect championship pedigree. The thing that concerns, because I think the Clippers top to bottom clearly have the better roster, clearly have the better coach. Adelman, God bless him. I think he may have a bright future, but you're not taking him over Ty Lue, who's one of the worst, at worst, the second best coach in the league. What concerns me, though, a little bit about this series, I think the Clippers are going to have to win the bulk of these games should they come out on top by about 8 to 13 points or so. Because if these are tight, if it's a 5-point game with 2 minutes left, one way or the other, are there many duos you trust more than Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray and their darn near unstoppable 2-man game at the end of the game? Do you trust that more than, or do you trust that less than Kawhi, who has been a great clutch player over the course of his playoff career? But Kawhi struggled late in the clutch. I was kind of shocked. Kawhi, who's not only stoic, but I talked about this on Friday, is one of the strongest, pound for pound, one of the strongest players in basketball. And the physicality seemed to really kind of bother him. Listen, this was his first playoff game this is first playoff series fully healthy in since like 2021. And so maybe it's an adjustment for him. I don't know, but that's going to be a problem. I think Kawhi is going to adjust. He's a great player. They do that. But there's a bit of a concern where Zubac was great. Harden, save for some moments, did play well. Playoff Harden's going to show up eventually, so there's that concern. Kawhi always balls out in the playoffs. Yeah, I think he had about 21, 22 points. So you have that component onto it, but it's the late game situations where, okay, if we get, it's kind of like what I talked about with the Warriors and Rockets series, where it's different because the Warriors are clearly better than Houston, but if the defense cancels each other out in the series, Golden State absolutely wins because Steph or Jimmy close at the end. But if these are tight late, for as much as I think Kawhi is great in the clutch, as much as I certainly don't trust Harden, despite some of the big-time shots late in this game one, I don't think there's a better 2-man game in the NBA to begin with than Murray and Jokic. And certainly late in games, it's darn near unstoppable because Murray's great in the mid-range. Murray can get to the basket. We know he can shoot the three. Jokic can do everything. If Jokic gets the ball in double, I'm going to kick it out to Michael Porter Jr. I'm going to kick it to Christian Brown. I may kick it to Russell Westbrook from time to time if he's open for a 3-point shot. I can float it. I can hit the mid-range. I can get to the bat. Like, listen, the guy can do whatever he wants offensively. He's obviously a liability on the defensive end of the floor, which is why I think Zubats will have a big impact. But listen, that was a big-time win for Denver in Game 1. I think it would have been really tough for them to go on that rally and then lose in overtime, especially after they weren't even able to get a shot off at the end of regulation. But this is going to be, I think most people thought this would be the best series in the first round. And if Game 1's any indicator, it very well could be just that. But that is, listen, I still got the Clippers winning. I still think they're the better team. I think there's a good chance they respond in Game 2. But it's the late game situations that if you're a Clippers fan, all 13 of them, you kind of do just hold your breath a little bit. And you're like, man, Jokic and the Nuggets have done this a lot in the playoffs, and forget just the playoffs, but just from a basketball standpoint, even Ty Lue, who's one of the great strategizers in the NBA right now, I mean, what are you going to do to stop that? Like I said, if Jokic was not almost on a tier by himself right now as far as the best player in the league, I would have no problem at all even thinking twice about picking the Clippers. I still pick them, but there is the concern, when you get down to the late game situation. So great Game 1. Looking forward to Game 2 tonight. The show's airing at 6, so the game tips off in, I guess, about 3.5 hours, so that'll be fun. And I think this will be a good series. I still got Clippers in 6, so I'm going to roll with that. Transition now to the Knicks and the Pistons. What a, certainly can't call it a rock fight. If you'd have told me one game was 95-85 in Game 1, I would have said Knicks Pistons, not Warriors Rockets. Warriors Rockets would have been in the top half of those, but definitely not above Pistons and Knicks. But it's a game where Detroit plays well. They kind of hang tough with the Knicks. They go on a third quarter run. It's like, oh my gosh, here come the Pistons. They could go and steal Game 1, make this really interesting. Cade Cunningham did his thing in his playoff debut. Tobias Harris was great. Dropped 25. You'll take that any day of the week from Tobias Harris. And then fourth quarter hits. Dennis Schroeder hits a shot. Knicks are down 8. And then from there on, we can show you the numbers. Knicks, led by Cam Payne of all people, between 9:16 and 4:35 in the fourth quarter. So essentially like a 5-minute stretch. Just go nuts. Knicks scored 21 points. They give up nothing. It's a 21-zip run. They go 9 for 11 for the field, 2 for 3 from three-point range. And Cam Payne in the fourth quarter, not just in this run, but in the fourth quarter in general, scores 11 points. I think 14 for the game, if I'm not mistaken. And so you talk about bench impact. Listen, see, Tom Thibodeau, this is what happens when you trust the bench. Crazy things happen like, hey, Cam Payne, he's a nice player off the bench. He can score from time to time. He's got a good three-point stroke. Give him the ball. He can do some things. We know Jalen Brunson, who's going to win Clutch Player of the Year. He would get my vote, has been awesome in the clutch over the course of this season. So listen, Tibbs knows his job is on the line. He has to, especially in New York of all cities, where if the Knicks, certainly if they get bounced in round 1, he's gone. He's not surviving that. And I think even if they get bounced in round 2, I get that it's Boston, and I think Boston's going to win the East. At the same time, there is an element of, we got swept by the Celtics this season. If that's a gentleman's sweep and we go the whole year losing 8 of 9 to the Celtics, we've got the talent. Boston's more talented. We got the talent to make it a series. We got Brunson and OG and Josh Hart and Karl Anthony Towns. We've got the guys, Mikal Bridges, to do it. So that would be a worthy reason to move on from him. Listen, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. And Tom Thibodeau just flat out does not use the bench. He runs the starters into the ground over the course of the season. That's just what he does. That's what he believes in. It's never worked, but he stayed with it, and it's very effective in the regular season when guys for other teams on a Tuesday night in Orlando aren't necessarily going all out to win a basketball game in February when your team is. That's great. It puts you in position to be the 3 seed and win 50 games. As the playoffs progress, it's a war of attrition. Eventually, bodies are going to wear down. And so, but in this spot, the Knicks seem to just get hotter as the fourth quarter continues to progress. So, shout out to them. Listen, I Knicks in 6 was my pick before the series. That was kind of a theme last year in the show. Knicks in 6, stick with it. Detroit's got the talent to certainly the personnel. I shouldn't say talent, but the personnel and the basketball identity to make this a really interesting series. Not like these the old some of those Pistons Knicks series where teams are struggling to break 90, like Warriors Rockets apparently in Game 1. But I think Cade Cunningham's going to step up, especially once the series shifts back to Detroit. They'll be in really good shape. So I still like the Knicks in the series. I love Brunson late in these games. We talk about Jokic finishing late, Jimmy Butler, Steph Curry. Not a lot, not 6-7 guys I'd rather have with the ball in their hands in a 5-minute stretch, in a clutch game, if you will, than Jalen Brunson. So, by the way, we're talking about Dallas Mavericks mistakes. That was really the first one, is letting Jalen Brunson walk. And he's obviously flourished with the New York Knicks. So it has to be kind of a shock to the system for the Pistons. First of all, Cade Cunningham's awesome. And there was an anecdote during the game that ESPN, I think Lisa Salters, who does a great job, pointed out that Cade Cunningham has on his phone every time he wakes up in the morning. He has an alert come on his phone, best player in the world. Like, that's his goal. Like, Cade Cunningham's a hard worker, driven. And so individually, it's no surprise he had the season he had. It's a shock that the Pistons had the season that they had, especially after last year when they one point lost 29 games in a row. So it has to be a little bit of a like, ooh, but Tobias Harris has been in the playoffs. Tim Hardaway Jr. has been in the playoffs. They've got guys, Dennis Schroeder's been in the playoffs. They've got dudes who have been there and done that. JB Bickerstaff has coached in the playoffs. So this isn't the classic young upstart that's just a little bit too not that ready for the moment. And something else too, to defend Detroit here, I'm not sure how many teams would have been ready for the avalanche, not just from the Knicks, but we've talked about it often. Is there that many better home court advantages than Madison Square Garden for a playoff game? It's just electric. I mean, we know about Spike Lee and some of the celebrity fans. I'm not talking about celebrities who are fans. I'm talking about fans who are celebrities in New York. It's a different atmosphere, different energy. I mean, when the Knicks are going on this 21-0 run, it's like, man, I don't know if the 2017 Warriors could have dealt. I mean, it's that type of energy, and so that's going to serve the Knicks well over the course of the playoffs. But I think they win the series in 6, but Detroit will respond. Even if they go down 2, I still think Detroit can win the next 2 at home and make it a 2-2 series. So they're fine. I obviously didn't think the Pistons were winning the series coming in, but JB Bickerstaff can point to spots in this game where he's like, hey guys, we had control. We were in a good spot coming in the fourth quarter. We had an 8-point lead with 9 minutes to go, and then the Knicks got hot. The big thing that Detroit's got to address is how Karl-Anthony Towns and some of the Knicks players just dominated the offensive glass during that run in the fourth quarter. But Knicks win the series. That was a crazy 21-0 run. But the Pistons will respond. There's no question about that. Again, today's show is not live, so if there's any comments, we greatly, greatly appreciate it. Please subscribe while you're at it on YouTube to my YouTube channel, Carving Up, as well as on the grid. Before we get to NFL draft, mock draft 3.0, which, for the record, I did also want to say this. As a reminder, Thursday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We've got a Grid Network NFL Draft live reaction show. We're working behind the scenes to put that together to get as many people on there as possible as it pertains to some of the draft analysts will have breaking down the draft as we go, the first round. But listen, this is the first year I've ever done mock drafts. I can't believe it. It's one of those things. I can't believe I took this long to do it because it's so sort of fun just thinking about the aspects. It's because it was 3.0 and because this is my final mock draft. This is the longest amount of time that I spent because I want to get as close to, you're never going to get 32 for 32, but you want to get as close to, I saw that coming from a mile away based on reports. And so get to mock draft in about, call it 5 to 10 minutes or so. But I did want to discuss, or at least touch on some of the other playoff games and some of the other game ones around the NBA. Because tonight we've got Pistons Knicks and Clippers Nuggets. That's a great doubleheader. That'll be 2 fun games. But some of the game ones that didn't necessarily deserve full segments. But Pacers Bucks. Pacers take care of Milwaukee. Milwaukee was my pick coming in. This again a little bit like the Lakers, where it's like they almost didn't seem to be ready for the playoff intensity, which is a little surprising because the Bucks have been a perennial playoff team. But I mean, Giannis was, by his standards, pretty darn awesome, 36-12. But no other Bucks showed up. He had some guys come off the bench in double figures, but generally the Bucks starters, Kyle Kuzma put up a Tony Snell stat line. Kyle Kuzma in this game was 0 for 5 from the field, 0 for 2 from 3, 0 rebounds, 0 assists, 0 steals, 0 blocks, and was a -24 in the game, which was a team worst for the Milwaukee Bucks. So listen, they traded Chris Middleton for Kuzma. I thought the trade was a good one. Chris Middleton's body had, God bless him, had kind of been failing him recently. So I thought Kuzma was a good fit there, but yeah, yikes. You got to get more than that in game one. I don't know when Lillard comes back. I'm almost certain it's not game two. My guess this is probably not game three either. This is a blood clot situation we're talking about with him. So I think the Bucks will respond. But again, that's another home court where Indiana, we kind of overlook the Pacers degree, but this is a 50-win team that was in the conference finals last year. And for the record, in 3 of those games, took Boston down to the wire, 2 of them, or 1 or 2 of them, without Tyrese Halliburton. So I say that, and then I pick the Bucks. And, I'm not sure the Pacers are the 4 seed. I'm not sure I'll take them against Cleveland. I may, just depends on how the Cavs series plays out. But, good win for the Pacers. We always talked about Clippers and Nuggets, as well as Pistons, Knicks, Timberwolves, Lakers. So that covers Saturday. Sunday, I mean, one pick I feel pretty darn confident in is Thunder and 4 over the Memphis Grizzlies. That was a beatdown, a shellacking, an embarrassment, whatever you want to describe it as. 131-80 was your final score from Oklahoma City. Between the Thunder and the Grizzlies, and this was kind of a classic Thunder team effort. Like SGA, 15 points. He's not great. He's only 1 for 7 from 3. Only shot 7 free throws, so that's gonna be something I think we're gonna have to get used to with him moving forward. But Jalen Williams is good, 20. Chet Holmgren, 19. Hartenstein, 14. Dort, 12. Aaron Wiggins came out the bench, gave you 21. So kind of a team effort. And then for Memphis, nobody had it going. At all. And this is, it's so weird. I feel like we're watching a little bit of what folks thought the Memphis Grizzlies were going to be about 3 years ago in Oklahoma City now. Now, SGA is not close to the athlete that Ja is, but star guard of all the SGA is a superstar. Ja looked like he was trending that direction. Not quite. He's taken a big time step back due to injuries, off court stuff. I think lack of seriousness for basketball has to come into the fray. But this you can clearly tell that it was a 68-win team with a week of rest against an 8 seed that fired their coach 2 weeks ago, has an unserious superstar, has one of their bigs that is hurt. Like it's a mismatch in every way. The Thunder, this series should be over a week from when's game 4? When's game 4? Because I remember the Thunder swept the Pelicans last year when the Pelicans didn't have Zion. Game 4 is on Saturday. So yeah, a week from today, the series should be long over. So there you go. So Thunder and 4. That's a sweep. My skepticism of Oklahoma City, but that should be a quick series. Memphis. Come on. I'm taking those guys seriously. Magic and Celtics. Boston did, took care of business, 103-86. How about Derek White coming in and getting the job done? So Derek White in this game just gave you a cool 30, 7 of 12 from 3, 10 for 18 from the field, led Boston in scoring by a pretty wide margin. The second leading scorer was Peyton Pritchard, who did his thing off the bench. He was my 6th man of the year. I said on Friday's show I would give the award to Peyton Pritchard, but this Boston team, man, is so darn deep. I mean, Tatum gets hurt in the game, so isn't that effective offensively? Jaylen Brown, we know, is dealing. That's really the one thing that could hurt Boston is Tatum got nicked up in this game. Jaylen Brown's been dealing with some knee stuff over the second half of the regular season. He's been getting some injections. Like, I think it is imperative. Boston kind of knows, let's get rid of Orlando as soon as possible. Let's give ourselves an extra week off, particularly for Jaylen Brown, but to a degree for Jason Tatum. I still think the Magic can get one. I had Celtics in 5. Paolo Banchero's good. He's so good. I've been a fan of this guy since college. I remember the first time, I've told this story before, the first time I really took notice of Paolo Banchero, because I knew he played at Duke, Final Four, all of it. But when he got drafted by the Orlando Magic, number 1 overall in 2022, got a lot of people, including myself, off guard. I thought they were going to go with either Chet Holmgren or Jabari Smith. They go with Paolo Banchero. And I don't remember if it was at his opening press conference in Orlando or somewhere, but he said something along the lines of, or not even along the lines of, just straight up, I want to be the leader on this team. It's like, wait a second. You don't hear 19, 20-year-olds talk about, I want to be the leader of an NBA franchise. Like that tells me something about this kid. Really mature, works hard, gets better every single year you see him. Even in this game with the just abysmal offense that the Magic are, they've got to be getting some new they got to be getting some reinforcements on that side. But Paolo dropped 36 and 11 in this game. Certainly wasn't the problem for Orlando, but they just, not only they don't have enough offense, they just, goes without saying, they just don't stack up talent-wise to the Boston Celtics. So that should be a quick series. And then Cleveland and Miami, LeBron's first two teams, Cleveland wins 121-100. It kind of took a fourth quarter run for the Cavs to kind of separate. They were always in control over the Miami Heat, but listen, it's an Eric Spoelstra-led team. Tyler Hero's had a great year. Bam. Andrew Wiggins has won a championship. Like, there's, they can make it fun. I had Cavs in 5. I think the Heat will get one, but that was kind of similar to Boston, kind of a grinded out effort. And again, Miami's just, even when they're not that talented, man, they are just a pain in the you-know-what. They just are on you from start to finish. So this will be, Cleveland's clearly better, but this will be a, not an easy first round matchup for the Cavs. It'll certainly not be as easy as Oklahoma City and Memphis. That's the biggest mismatch of the entire playoffs, probably, that we'll see this year. So Cavs getting it done. I already talked about Warriors Rockets. Listen, people who were just, and we're one game in. I get it. I understand. But folks that were just, like, oh man, the Warriors should watch it. Watch out for what? The Houston defense that we're actually better than since we acquired Jimmy Butler. So just throwing that out there. All right, be back in just 1 minute, but after we come back, my mock draft 3.0. This is my last one, folks, before the draft begins on Thursday. So stay tuned. Mock draft 3.0 in just 1 minute on Carving It Up Live. Welcome back to Carving Up Live. So, mock draft 3.0. I said earlier in the show, this is my first year doing mock drafts. I can't believe what I was missing out on. This is awesome. I love it. And by the way, it builds my personal anticipation for the draft even more than what it already was. And by the way, again, next, just another reminder, Grid Network 2025 NFL Draft live coverage starts Thursday night, 7:30 Eastern on the Grid's YouTube. It will probably be on the Grid's X as well. Tell everybody you know about it. It's going to be one of our biggest shows as a network this year. So definitely stay tuned for that. Mock Draft 3.0, it's obviously, I've gone over some, it's probably the longest time I've spent on one, just kind of looking at different, okay, am I sure that this team needs or wants or will address this? The Shedeur Sanders component of it just makes it all the more fascinating. So let's not mess around. Let's get right into it. So mock draft 3.0, here we go. All right, mock draft 3.0, here we go. So before I even show the graphic, let me say this in the front end. So I'm not going to spoil. We know who the number one pick is going to be. It's going to be Cam Ward. Number 2, I feel like it seems all reports seem to be trending that it's going to be Travis Hunter to the Cleveland Browns. By the way, just evaluation on Cam Ward. Cam Ward is a little bit like Caleb Williams, is a little bit bigger, stronger, I think, than Caleb, but rocket arm, can play in the pocket, outside the pocket, dealt with not an ideal O-line at Miami. He's going to be suited to kind of help turn that franchise around in Tennessee. I like him a lot. Travis Hunter is a once-in-a-generation type of athlete. Forget football player. He said the other day, I will not play football unless you let me play both positions. My thing is, okay, he's been elite his whole life. What's going to stop him from being elite at the NFL level? He's clearly capable of doing it and winning a darn Heisman at the college level. So Travis Hunter to the Cleveland Browns. I thought this entire time that the draft starts at number 4 with the New England Patriots, because I think the top 3 players go off the board. Then what does New England do? In recent days, and maybe this is just the last 2 weeks leading up to the draft, there's a whole lot of nothing being spread around. There's conflicting reports. There's anonymous sources. Like, it's just hard to gauge what's real and what's not in the last 2 weeks prior to draft. I mean, I remember 2 years ago, it felt like CJ Stroud was going to fall, and he ended up going second overall to the Texans. Like, you just hear a lot of nonsense, intentionally so, from a lot of franchises because they want to position themselves in a certain way to take a certain player. And my idol in this business, Colin Cowherd, has a great saying that if you're facing a tough decision in life or whatever, say it out loud. The say it out loud theory. And the last mock draft, the first one I had Travis Hunter going to the Giants. Then when reports shifted that the Browns were going to take him, I had him going to the Browns, and that's the case now. Mock draft 2.0, Abdul Carter going to the Giants. But I was thinking, okay, say it out loud. The strength of the New York Giants is their defensive line. While Abdul Carter would make it maybe the best defensive line, Brian Dable's job is on the line. The head coach. Joe Shane's job is on the line. The general manager. Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson are fine. They're good. We are trying to save our jobs, and there's a first-round talent quarterback on the board. Boom. I think the Giants take Shedeur Sanders, quarterback out of Colorado. Again, say it out loud. The Giants, listen, Abdul Carter make their defensive line unstoppable, but they're already really good on that side. Dexter Lawrence and company. We need to get Shedeur Sanders in the building. He can sit behind. We can maybe even trade a guy like Russell or Jameis or cut them, whatever the case may be. Develop Shedeur Sanders, put ourselves in a position where maybe we can extend our jobs because Brian Dable helped Daniel Jones get to the playoffs. Joe Shane, for his just atrocious moves in the last offseason, can maybe make up for them if he gets the franchise quarterback with the Giants. Obviously have not had since Eli Manning. Shedeur Sanders goes to the Giants. Abdul Carter then falls to number 4. I think Abdul Carter, honestly, is the best player in the draft. He falls to number 4 to the New England Patriots, who are just thanking the football gods that this happened. Listen, Will Campbell would be great for the Patriots. That's where I've had him going the last 2 mock drafts, but hang in this spot, it's like, oh my gosh, Abdul Carter goes to a team that's coached by Mike Vrabel. We get a superstar pass rusher. I think Abdul Carter is going to be awesome in the league. I think this is the way the Patriots kind of want it to fall. Going out to the next 4 picks. I think, listen, this is where you get into the area where you hear a lot of noise and stuff coming out. I think Adam Schefter recently put a tweet that some anonymous executive said, hey, Mason Graham to the Jaguars is not a home run. That probably means that it's going to happen. Mason Graham ends up with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Listen, they obviously need interior defensive line help. Mason Graham is far and away the best interior defensive lineman in this year's draft. This is, again, a third verse, same as the first. In all 3 mock drafts, I have Ashton Jeanty going to the Raiders. Everybody in Vegas seems to be vocal that they're going to take a running back. There's the star power of Ashton Jeanty. Second place, the Heisman. Best running back, obviously, in college football a year ago. Pete Carroll loves his superstar running backs. From Reggie Bush at USC to Marshawn Lynch at the Seattle Seahawks. I think Ashton Jeanty is a Vegas Raider. Will Campbell then falls to the New York Jets. I think Will Campbell's the best tackle in this draft. I think, listen, the Jets, they could reach on Jackson Dart or Jalen Milroe. I think that would be a horrendous idea for the franchise. Aaron Glenn is trying to set a culture, and not only that, but they just need help on that O-line. That was one of the biggest issues beyond just ability that plagued Aaron Rodgers over the last season with the Jets, is just poor offensive line play. Get the best tackle in the draft, shore that side of the O-line up. Jalen Walker, again, third verse, same as the first. Best pass rusher in this draft after Abdul Carter. He goes to the Carolina Panthers, who desperately need help on the edges defensively. Next 4 picks, I think Tet McMillan, back to where I had him initially. I believe in my first mock draft, Tet McMillan goes to the New Orleans Saints now that Shedeur Sanders is off the board. I think if Shedeur is on the board, they take him with the Derek Carr injury. But listen, the Saints are in a world. They need to just get the roster right. They need to get past the cap hell that they're in, that they for some reason just held on for dear life post Drew Brees, that they can make a run. That was never realistic. Let's get the best receiver in the draft, put him in. Chris Olave, God bless him, has dealt with a lot of concussions. So listen, if the best case scenario, Olave stays healthy, he's with McMillan, whoever the quarterback is next year, and if they draft one in 2026, makes their job a little bit easier. Amari Hampton, I had him going to the Bears in the last mock draft. I have him going here in this one. I honestly think overall he's a better prospect than Ashton Jeanty. Listen, the Bears were the worst rushing team in the NFL last year. They've done a good job. I've kind of wrestled. Should I have them take an O-lineman, Armand Membo, somebody like that? But they've went out and addressed the O-line in free agency. So I don't think that's going to be a problem for the Bears this season. They've got a great offensive coach in Ben Johnson. Get Caleb Williams a good running game. Really shores up that Bears running game. Armand Mimbo goes to the San Francisco 49ers. Listen, Trent Williams is a legend. He could retire tomorrow and walk into Canton, Ohio with that gold jacket. But they do need to shore up that offensive line, particularly if Brock Purdy is going to end up being the long-term option, which I think, based on what I'm hearing from a contract perspective, would be a mistake. But you got to protect your asset. Armand Mimbo goes to the 49ers. And then you got a back-to-back tackles. Kelvin Banks Jr., Texas. It's kind of perfect. Jerry likes, big, not necessarily a big name in the case of Kelvin Banks, but Texas is a big-time brand, big-time school, obviously same state. Dallas, there's the retirement of Tyron Smith, which he was already gone, obviously, last year with the Jets. Zach Martin's gone. Like the old great Dallas offensive lines from the 2010s are gone. The remains are nowhere to be found. Let's try and see if we can help Dak Prescott protect him a little bit. They need to draft wide receiver desperately, but I feel like any of the wide receivers at 12 will be a bit of a reach. Other than Ted McMillan, Kelvin Banks Jr. at 12 is the right pick at this point for Dallas. Next 4 picks, Miami Dolphins. I switched up a little bit. I had them going Josh Simmons the last 2 drafts, the tackle of Ohio State. In this case, they're seeking a trade for Jalen Ramsey. So in this case, let's just replace Jalen Ramsey and get the best corner in the draft. 2 Longhorns go back-to-back. Jedi Barron goes corner out of Texas to the Dolphins. The best tight end in this draft, in my opinion, one of the 5 best players in this draft, Tyler Warren, goes to a team that desperately needs help at tight end. That is the Indianapolis Colts. Tyler Warren is a fantastic fit there. He's an awesome talent at the time position at Penn State. He goes to Indianapolis. Listen, the Falcons need help off the edge. I've had them alternating between James Pierce, and in this case, I'm settling on Michael Williams, the edge out of Georgia. I think he's a great fit there. It's amazing. The second best pass rusher out of Georgia is going to the top 15. Shows you how great the Bulldogs develop their defenses. But Michael Williams goes to the Falcons. By the way, playing on turf, indoors, in Atlanta, staying in state. It'd be really popular to the fans, and it'd be a great pick for the Falcons. Jahad Campbell, who I've had falling a little bit the last couple mock drafts, not in this spot. I think he goes to the Arizona Cardinals, allows them to get some help off the edge, which they desperately need. Next 4 picks, all 3 mock drafts have had the Bengals going with the corner. Will Johnson's the second best corner on the board this year. He out of Michigan. He goes to the Bengals, who just need, outside of Trey Hendrickson, who we're waiting on a deal, but it looks like probably is going to stay in Cincinnati. Let's address the back end of that defense, which we have just pretty much just let fall apart, particularly in free agency the last couple of years. Let's get Will Johnson in. Matthew Golden, receiver out of Texas, goes to the Seahawks at 18. I have felt this entire time that Seattle's going to go with the wide receiver, particularly after they traded DK Metcalf to my Steelers and let Tyler Lockett walk in free agency. Put him with Jackson Smith and Jigba. Matthew Golden is a burner, and that'd be really helpful with a guy like Sam Darnold, who we know has a big arm. James Pierce Jr., my man out of the University of Tennessee, goes to Tampa. They've been looking for a great pass rusher for some time now. He goes to the Buccaneers. And Emeka Egbuka, I'm really high on this kid. He goes to the Denver Broncos. Help Bo Nix out. Put him in a Sean Payton offense, put him opposite Courtland Sutton. That can be an even better Denver Broncos offense than what it was last year when Bo Nix, I believe, threw 29 touchdown passes as a rookie. Going to the next 4 picks, starting with my Pittsburgh Steelers. I hope and pray that if Shador's off the board, that this is the position we go. Josh Simmons, tackle out of Ohio State. I think this would actually be a kind of a bargain for the Steelers, getting him at 21. Listen, we know the weakness of this Pittsburgh Steelers team, other than quarterback, is offensive line, which has obviously affected quarterback play over the last half decade or so. Get the O-line right, and for the love of God, Tomlin, develop an O-line at some point. Josh Simmons goes to the Steelers. Please don't take Jackson Dart. Please, I'm begging you. I will be not as skeptical if you take Jalen Milroe, but I still think at 21, that's a huge reach on a project of a prospect. Get the O-line right. Draft Josh Simmons. Second straight year that the Steelers would draft, I believe third straight year that they would draft an offensive lineman, which they need to do. Colson Loveland's the second best tight end. He goes to the Chargers. Is this not just... It's not just a classic Jim Harbaugh pick just because it's a Michigan Wolverine and Jim Harbaugh coach Colson Loveland, but you put him in. Listen, I last mock draft I had Matthew Golden going there, but I was actually talking to a buddy of mine. He said, yeah, but he's a burner, and Lab McConkey's kind of a burner. So, stylistically, it doesn't make a ton of sense. So put Colson Loveland there, give Justin Herbert a good safety valve, which he really hasn't had at the side of position in Los Angeles. I think that'd be a really good fit for the Chargers. My sister's favorite team, the Green Bay Packers, go Shamar Stewart out of A&M. This is more of an upside pick than a production pick, but the Packers have a history of doing that. They take Shamar Stewart at 23. Azaria Thomas out of Florida State goes to the Minnesota Vikings. Again, their defense is really good up front. They need help in the secondary. Next 4 picks. I think it is imperative that the Houston Texans go offensive line this draft. They go Josh Connerly. At this point is the best tackle on the board out of Oregon. Jaden Higgins, receiver out of Iowa State, goes to the LA Rams. How about that? Listen, what's better than Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams? Oh, let's take one of the most talented young receivers and put him in our group. And I think the Rams are going for it right now. This will give them an even better shot to go on a deep playoff run. And who knows what they'll do even after the first round of the draft. Les Snead, one of the best GMs out there. Walter Nolan, interior lineman out of Ole Miss, will go to the Baltimore Ravens. This is kind of a classic Baltimore pick. SEC guy, interior D-line. This kind of fits their mold and what they like to do. Mike Green, edge out of Marshall. I had him going to Buffalo the last 2 mock drafts, but again, high upside guy, top 15 potential player on the board. Listen, you put him opposite Aiden Hutchinson, comes back healthy. All of a sudden, there were rumors last year. Oh, could you get Max Crosby and put him opposite Aiden Hutchinson? I'm not saying Mike Green's gonna be Max Crosby. Obviously, he's one of the best pass rushers in the game, but could really, really make a day one impact on this Detroit team that we know. Might as well just go exclusively defense in this draft. They've addressed in free agency. DJ Reed was a good move, but that is the problem right now with the Lions. Offense is not their issue. Go get Mike Green at this point. Certainly the best edge rusher available out of Marshall. Last 4 picks of the first round. Derek Harmon, defensive tackle out of Oregon, goes to the Washington Commanders. You move on from Jonathan Allen, kind of replace him on that interior. Nick Imamori from the safety from South Carolina. The Bills need, we saw in that playoff game and throughout the course of the season, back into their defense is just atrocious. They've got to address it if a pass rusher isn't available. Quinshaw Judkins had him going to Kansas City last mock draft. That remains the same today. Chiefs do need help in that running game. And I've kind of just swapped a bunch of guys with Philly. It's like, hey, who do the Eagles want? Because they really don't have a genuine hole in their roster. So what the heck? Let's just get another receiver. Luther Burden III, wide receiver out of Missouri, goes to the Philadelphia Eagles at number 32 to round out the first round of my final mock draft 3.0. So there you have it. Listen, I'll say this. I thought back and forth on Shedeur at 3 to the Giants. I did. But again, I go back to what, my man Cowherd always talks about is the say it out loud theory. Does it fit with Abdul Carter on the Giants? Yes. Does it make them an unreal defensive line better than they already were? Yes. But that's not the problem for the Giants. They need to listen. Is Shedeur a guy that in most drafts you would take 3rd overall in the draft? No. If Shedeur Sanders is in last year's quarterback draft, I'd take Caleb, Penix, Jaden Daniels. Who else is in that draft? Bo Nix. I would probably, I don't know, Bo Nix is pretty good. It's a tie between him and Bo Nix. I would take him over J.J. McCarthy. And then Drake May for the Patriots. Again, I like Drake May. It's hard to tell last year because the Patriots are so darn untalented at virtually every position offensively. So we'll see if Josh McDaniels is able to address that and if the Patriots address it in the draft. But again, like last year, no way, no chance that I'm taking Shedeur Sanders in the top 3. I'm not sure I'm taking Cam Ward top 3 last year. But again, it's a year where the quarterback prospects are kind of weak. Like Jackson Dart, you're going more upside than production because against the good teams, the SEC, Jackson Dart wasn't very good. Jalen Milroe, it's a little bit of like the Jalen Hurts model. Elite run, probably not elite runner, can fly when he has the ball in his hands. Big time, probably the best arm in the draft is Jalen Milroe. So there's some things to work with, but there are some things to work with as it pertains to his weaknesses. So it's not a strong quarterback draft. Not a lot of day one ready guys. Giants need to address that position. I think they do. And with respect to Jameis and Russell Wilson, those guys are not going to save Brian Dable's job. Shedeur Sanders could. So that's the main thing for the Giants, and that's why I had them taking Shedeur Sanders at 3rd. First mock draft, I had him falling to Pittsburgh, which I would be over the moon if we're able to get him at 21. Or if we have to trade up to get him, that's fine too. Second mock draft, I had him to the Saints at 9 after the Derek Carr injury news. And now I'm like, I feel like the Giants have to take him. They do. The Browns aren't going to. They're going to take Travis Hunter at this point. We know Cam Ward's going to Tennessee. We know Travis is going to the Browns. I feel like the draft starts at 3 with the Giants. That's to me where it gets really, really fascinating and where the Shedeur Sanders conversations are going to begin on all the networks, on our network, on the grid, which again, last call, we will be covering the 2025 NFL Draft Thursday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'll be hosting. Mike Guido will be joining me. EJ Savage, among others, will be joining over the course of our first round coverage. So definitely stay tuned for that. All right, that is all the time we have for today's show. Appreciate everybody stopping by. As always, be sure to catch Carving It Up likely on Friday. We will be doing a post-Warriors-Rockets reaction. I did a Warriors-Grizzlies playing reaction. Probably do some Warriors-Rockets and maybe even some other games reaction in some point this week. Obviously, we have the draft show on Thursday. Friday show, we'll have draft playoffs. We got all kinds of things to talk about in the world of sports. I didn't get a chance to talk about Nico transferring to UCLA. Talented kid. He may develop, but man, he just downgraded big time financially and in terms of his football situation as it relates to his development as a quarterback prospect moving forward. So that's kind of my immediate take on that. But catch for sure Carving Up Live on Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time, right here on YouTube as well as on X. Check out all of our amazing content creators on the grid. And hey, that's all I've got. NBA playoffs are underway. Great game ones. Warriors look good. Oh, I'm so shocked. Of course they look good. They've looked good this entire second half of the year with the Jimmy Butler trade. And Curry stoppers. Get out of here. All right. We'll see you guys next show. Stay safe, everybody. God bless y'all. Peace out. Curry stoppers, please. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.